Welcome to Meme Reads, where today we're covering r/Prorevenge, where OP breaks up with her boyfriend after his shocking confession.
This next post is by CatherineTheTiger. I broke up with my boyfriend on his birthday for horrible actions he did when he was a teenager. I don't know whether this counts as pro-revenge, but here's my story, which happened some years ago. I was 26 at the time and had just started dating Thomas, who is 28, and things seemed very promising. He was a very sweet man, very educated and quite smart, with good looks as well. After about 7 weeks of dating, he invited me and two of his childhood friends, I'll call them Alex and Bart, for a long 29th birthday celebration weekend at his father's country house in a small French town. His father was going to be around as well, and I was very excited to meet everyone. Friday, which was the first day, was fun. I was happy to get along with Thomas's father, a smart and caring man. On Saturday, after having a very nice day, we enjoy a party in the garden with neighbors, including some of Thomas's friends. After a few hours and a lot of drinks, a group of people gather around a small campfire and start sharing childhood memories. This is where things go wrong. At first, of course, innocent and dumb stories that you would expect. But then, Thomas and his friends started sharing some really sick stuff. In particular, they told me a story about how, when they were about 14 or 15 years old, they found it very amusing to bully a boy named Arthur for about 6 months. He was a kid at their school who was very isolated and shy. They would make jokes, call him names, you name it. And as if this wasn't enough, they created a fake girl profile on MSN Messenger and spent months exchanging messages with him under the false girl identity, flirting and developing a false relationship with the poor boy. Some people were in the confidence at school, and it became a big and cruel joke behind Arthur's back. They used pictures of Bart's real cousin, and the boy truly thought that he had some kind of online girlfriend whom he even sent confessions and love messages to. At some point, they got bored and scheduled a false rendezvous IRL, asking the boy to take a bus for 2 to 3 hours, wearing a t-shirt of Elmer the elephant based on a private joke. Obviously, there's no one waiting for him, and they didn't know how long that he was waiting over there for, by himself. If Arthur had not really understood what was going on, he found out the next day at school, after Thomas and Bart told the story to everyone and even shared the love messages that Arthur had been writing. The poor boy stopped coming to class and apparently had changed schools after the incident, and it's easy to imagine that this must have been extremely traumatizing to him. Do you think that Thomas, Alex, and Bart had any bit of shame about it? Not a bit of remorse, in particular on Thomas and Bart's side. They kept making jokes about it, and even seemed to regret that they weren't evil enough to convince the boy to send illicit pictures. I don't even want to imagine what would happen if he had done so. To say that I felt uncomfortable would be a gross understatement. I was absolutely horrified and started to despise Thomas more than anything. I was not the only one who was shocked. Thomas's father, who heard the end of the story, had the most disappointed look in his eyes. His stupid son was so drunk that he didn't even notice it. I escaped the party immediately after that and got back to the house. I could not sleep at all that night, and I kept thinking about the evening and how Thomas was still finding it all funny. I heard him coming to bed around 4 a.m., but I pretended that I was still asleep. Day 3 of the trip, which was Sunday, was his actual birthday, and the initial plan was that I would take Thomas on a one-on-one fancy surprise date for a lunch nearby, and we would meet up with the rest of the group at a late afternoon party. But instead, I woke up very early on Sunday morning, took all of my stuff in silence, and went alone on a train station where I took a direct train heading back to Paris. I decided to send a text to Thomas wishing him a happy birthday and telling him to meet me at a certain location 1 hour from the house for a surprise, and that I needed to go a little bit early in advance to make sure that everything would be perfect. I had picked the location randomly using Google Maps to gain time. Thomas read those text messages around 10 a.m. when he woke up. He responded with excitement that he would follow the instructions religiously. When he arrived there at 12:30, I told him to wait further as there was a little delay on something. Then, I asked him to meet me at a restaurant which was about a 30-minute drive from the initial location. When he arrived at 1:15, I texted him that I was on my way, would arrive in 20 minutes, and that he will understand when he sees me why I made him wait. I also asked him to order some food and the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu. Around 1:30, he started calling me several times and sent a lot of worried texts, and after 45 minutes I responded in French. So, how does it feel to have people play with your feelings? Then, I stopped responding. I let him call and text the entire afternoon, but never responded. At some point, an unknown number called me, and it was his friend Alex asking what was going on, and that Thomas's birthday was completely ruined because of what I did. I responded, "This is an extremely small payback for what you did to Arthur. Tell Thomas to stop calling me," and hung up. I blocked them. I still felt bad the entire evening, as I had started to grow attached to Thomas back then. The following days, a common friend called me and said that my reaction was completely absurd and unfair, that it was not my role to punish someone for actions they did as a teenager, that there were adult ways of saying things, and that I had been completely crazy. Only a few people supported what I did. Everyone seems to think that I was a bitch. Thomas tried to fix things and win me back for a few months afterwards, but I never responded to any of his messages. I don't regret it. I simply hope that Arthur, who should be 35 to 36 years old now, is well. Edit. I really did not expect so many reactions and comments. As expected, I see that not everyone approves of what I did, but I am surprised to receive so many kind messages. Thank you. About Thomas's father. He was actually one of the few people understanding of my actions. He called me shortly after the incident to discuss an unrelated topic. I was going to give him a list of recommendations about something. He was already aware of everything. He didn't badmouth his son, but I could really feel that he was disappointed. He simply told me that he had not found any sleep the night of Saturday and Sunday because of what his son had said during the party. He told me that he appreciated meeting me and expressed regret that I was not with his son anymore, but also said that he understood my reasons. He did not try to convince me to get back with Thomas. This man was truly a gentleman. I don't know what became of Arthur. I don't even know his last name. I think that even if I had known his name, I would not have reached out to him by fear of making him remember things that he probably wants to forget. I hope he's a confident man, and that he still likes Elmer the elephant. OP, I think this story definitely counts as pro-revenge. This man was having a fantastic 29th birthday party, and yeah, now it's been ruined because he was a piece of trash. I personally think that he got what he deserved. While I don't think it's fair to criticize someone for what they did when they were in high school, I do think it's fair to criticize someone for how they reflect on it now. Your ex-boyfriend still to this day thinks it's hilarious and wish that they could have done worse to this poor boy. I think it's fair to say that he hasn't changed at all, and the fact that he still thinks it's funny is a huge red flag. I don't think it's fair to criticize OP for treating this guy this way in the end, because in the end, she saw the red flags and left. And she gave him a taste of his own medicine in the end too. I'm glad that you were able to get out of an uncomfortable situation, OP, and I think the only thing that would make this even more perfect is if you were to accidentally run into Arthur someday, and he turns out to be this amazing dude and you two just hit it off.
Just a little side note for that first story. The boyfriend's dad sounds like a total gentleman. I don't know how you raised such a piece of trash. This next post is from NoCat2980. Boss tried to sleep with my fiance and I made him regret it. This was several years ago, so my boss was an extreme type A personality. He found out I was seeing another young lady at one of our offices. It was a long distance relationship, and he's the type that he loved to control everything and mess with people for fun. He was also married to another employee, but he was very unfaithful, and he had a hobby, photography. He liked to take pictures of himself in his conquest in the act. Then he would show the pictures around the production floor and brag about it. Well, in his next trip to this other office, he tried to get my girlfriend to sleep with him, but she spurned him, and he made up some lies and then got her fired. It took a long time, but I was patient. I knew he kept a stack of photos in his office. He couldn't risk keeping them at home where his wife might stumble upon them. One Saturday, I was working overtime and the cleaning lady came through, and that's whenever I noticed she unlocked his office. I came in acting like I was taking some dimensions on some drawings, and the lady asked me to close the door whenever I was finished. She left and went down towards accounting, and that's when I went through his desk. Sure enough, in the back of one of the drawers, I found a stack of photos 4 inches tall. I took all of them. Then I waited until he went on another trip. Whenever he did, I went out for lunch and I had dozens of pictures of him in the act with 4 different women, all of them showing his face. The women all had darker red hair and his wife is a blonde. I drove down to the town he lived in and went to the closest post office to his house and mailed all the pictures to his wife with no return address. After she found out, she divorced him and her lawyer took him to the cleaners. My girlfriend's now my wife and we aren't mad anymore. OP, looks like your boss effed around and found out. All stupid jokes aside, I'm glad that you exposed this gross creep for who he really is. Cheating on your wife alone already makes you a disgusting piece of trash, but you're one of those guys who takes pictures of it and then goes and shows other guys and brags about it, probably without permission from the girl. It's just absolutely despicable behavior in my opinion. This guy is the definition of a perverted creep. That was Meme Reads. If you enjoyed this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Peace.